What made the NFL skyrocket past every other sport in the US? Because we had Jeff Gluck on the podcast this week, and he talked about when he started covering NASCAR in the early 2000s, how NASCAR felt like it could compete and potentially overtake the NFL at that time. And that's just like, now looking at it, that's almost a laughable thing to think about. There was also the point about 8 years ago or so where the NFL TV ratings were dipping. Last season now was the most watched Super Bowl ever. So what changed? What made the NFL? What made this league just take off to what it is right now?
I think you really have to go back quite a bit, Brandon. I think that the NFL, when I started covering it back in the 80s, there was a segment of the front office of the NFL that felt, we have baseball envy in this way. In the off season, like when the baseball owners meetings or whatever they're called, general managers meetings, or the winter
Yeah.
meetings,
Yeah,
whatever they
they have
are.
both.
Yeah, so I don't even know all of what they have, but baseball then owns the media for 4 or 5 days, and it's even bigger than what we do. It's bigger than anything we do in the off season. How can we how can we make our sport, maybe not 12 months a year, 24/7, maybe not that much of it. How can we make the off season really significant? So they started thinking, instead of, Brandon, I'll never forget, in 2000, I went to the scouting combine. There were 15 or 20 reporters there. That's it. And now there's 1,200 credential media
Right.
there every year. And that's only, it's whatever, 20, 22, 23 years that's exploded. One of the reasons that's exploded is that the NFL said, instead of trying to keep the media away, let's invite them in. And then when NFL Network was born, whatever year that was, 03, 04, they had them just broadcast it wall to wall. And all of a sudden, you start feeling like, oh my God, people will watch a 40-yard dash. And it was a big deal. And it became a must stop for every reporter who covered the NFL. And I can tell you, in 2000, when I would go, most guys would say, hey, look, I'm done with football for a while. I got to take a few weeks off. So, but the NFL got everybody 2 weeks after the season or whatever it was to keep the good times rolling and
Yeah.
have the combine. And then 2 weeks after that, free agency began. So they created this time. I think it's whatever it is, Tuesday, Wednesday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Eastern time, where ESPN and NFL Network would go live for a long time, with the beginning of free agency. And this guy just signed, that guy just signed. And they found that people really would watch it. Then obviously the draft, they've gone crazy. I think that was a Roger Goodell stroke of genius, in my opinion. There's a lot of things I think you can criticize Roger for, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
But his thought, whatever it was, a decade or so ago, that we should move the draft around and take it out of Radio City, was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And they're reaping the rewards of that every year. The draft just gets bigger and bigger. And anyway, they just thought of ways, and look at the last weekend in July now is back to football weekend or whatever they call it. And they have it on NFL Network and they have ESPN and all that. And so these are the kind of things. Getting ESPN to do NFL Live for, I think I'm right in saying this, for an hour every weekday of the year or so, whatever it is. There's nothing going on July 7th. And yet there's an hour
Right.
of NFL Live on, talking about nothing.
Yeah.
It's a commercial for the NFL. And so those are the things that the NFL has done to basically make this a much, much bigger deal than it was when I started reporting. And I think that leads to people being more intensely interested and the buildup leading to bigger TV ratings.